Hey, good news for the buyers. Inventory is going up. Let's look at the data. This is Dean Odell with Seven Gables Real Estate in the Odell Group. Today is May 30th, and we are going to look at the charts. Now, today, a little bit different. We just went through Memorial Day. Things are running a little bit behind with the information and everything, so we are not going to do all the fancy schmancy animations, okay? We're just going to go through the numbers real quickly, and then we'll talk about it at the end. So let's get started. Okay, so looking at today's inventory, we have 2,620. Now, 2 weeks ago, we had 2,470. Last year, 2,190. So this is good. Inventory is going in the right direction. Take a look at that purple line in the drawing. 2,024 listings. Look at that angle. It's going up. Not as much as 2022, but certainly a lot better than 2021 or last year in 2023. Now, we're still well below the 3-year average prior to COVID, which was 6,370 homes that are normally on the market. So we've got a long way to go for inventory build, but let's take a look at demand. Okay, now looking at demand, we have 1,650 homes that have gone to escrow the last 30 days. 2 weeks ago, it was 1,759. So we had a drop in demand. And you can see last year it was 1,665. So we're almost on the same pace of demand as last year, but yet we have more homes than last year, right? We have almost 430 more homes for buyers to choose from. So if you look at the 3-year average, you can see we are still below normal demand. But look at that purple line. Look how it dropped in the last 30 days. Check it out. Now, what's interesting is if you draw a line straight up from the peak of that purple line, you'll see that in almost all years, that is really where demand has been peaking. So the question is, are we past the peak of demand for this year like we have been in prior years? Time's going to tell. Now, the only exception to that was the green line, which that was the 3-year average. We used to peak a little bit later in the season. So we're just going to have to watch this, see what's going on. But if inventory keeps building and demand keeps steady or going down, that's a good thing for the buyers. More things to choose from. Why is demand dropping? Let's take a look at this chart and see how interest rates are impacting the affordability for buyers. Now, with 20% down at 7%, you could see that a buyer can only afford a $940,000 home. Did I say 940 only? Is that an only? That's a lot of money, right? But in Orange County, we know what the prices of these homes are. It doesn't get you what a lot of buyers are looking for, right? Now, when rates were down at 5.5, or if they head that way in the future, you can see somebody could buy a $1.1 million home. So, this shows you the impact of interest rates and how it affects affordability for the buyers. Moving on to expected marketing time. Well, guess what happens when inventory goes up and demand goes down? Expected marketing time goes up. So if you look at today, you can see it's 48 days. 2 weeks ago, it was 42. And last year, it was 39. So the speed of the market is slowing down and becoming more in the buyer's favor. They have a little bit more time to make some decisions here, right? But you can see on that purple line how quickly and the angle that it's gone up. So we got to keep our eye on that. There hasn't been that strong of an angle since 2022 when rates went up as well about this time of year. So what we have to do now is look at how that expected marketing time breaks down by price range. And you can see it is still a hot seller's market all the way up to $2 million because the marketing time is under 60 days. It becomes a slight seller's market between 2 and 4 million and a deep buyer's market between 4 and 6 million. And you can see the marketing time this year versus last year and how our current inventory is relative to the demand in that price range. So you can see we still have a long way to go before it becomes a buyer's market in all price ranges, but this at least lets you know what your price range is doing. If you want to take a longer look at this chart, you can pause it, but now I'm going to move to my advice for buyers and sellers and tell you what we're seeing out there. Okay, so I'm going to warn you, there's not going to be a lot of editing going on here today because of time constraints with the holidays. So hopefully I speak clearly and concisely, all right? So let me tell you what's going on in our own family right now because it's kind of interesting. So my son is in the market to shop for a home and he's actually making an offer on a home. And you might say, well, gosh, why would somebody do that? Things are so expensive right now. Well, he has made the decision, him and his wife, that this is a long-term house they want to be in, okay? And at the same time, my wife and I are thinking about selling one of our investment properties. and it's got a lot of equity built up in it. Now, people would say, well, why would you sell your investment properties? Are you going to 1031 exchange it? What are you going to do to avoid taxes? To be honest with you, we might just pay the taxes. And you know why? Because when we bought that home, if we compare what it's rented for now and what it will rent for with somebody, even if we get another renter, we might make $500 a month on that property. But we have so much equity in that property, it's crazy. If we even pay the taxes and just stick the money in the bank, because we'd be better off getting the income that comes from that, right? Unless you really believe that there's just going to be all this appreciation, or you want to hold this property for another decade or whatever. My wife and I, we know we don't want to do that. We're kind of like, hey, you know what? Maybe it's time to go. Maybe it's time to part with this property now. We've had it quite a bit of time. But just to show you, I mean, I can tell you once we get the proceeds from this property, pay the taxes on it, it is going to throw off cash at 7 times the rate of what it's thrown off now. And so, you have to look at where you are in your life, how much longer you want to be an owner, all those kind of things. Nobody wants to pay taxes, including me, but guess what? Sometimes it just makes sense. So why don't you get together with us, give us a call. Let's see if it makes sense for you to sell at this point. Let's look at what your options are. There's other tax vehicles out there. There's deferred sales trust where you can defer that money for years and years and years. We might consider that as well. So what's interesting is within our own family, we have someone who's ready to buy and we have someone who's ready to sell. Okay, so you have to look at your personal situation for yourself and see what makes sense for you. So always take a long-term perspective at your look. Don't take a short-term perspective. Don't try to time the market. But for my wife and I, we are strong believers in the saying that pigs get fat and hogs get slaughtered, right? So why are we going to just keep holding on to this property, have to maintain it, have to be a landlord, have to put money into it? For what? We just stick the money in the bank, right? So come talk to us. Let us help you out to make these important decisions. We can work with your CPA, we can work with your wealth advisor, and see if it makes sense for you to sell that house, because what we do know is there are buyers waiting for it. So that's it for this Tustin Talks. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks for tuning in.